Okay, so what we're going to look at here is our probe scanner. Before you start scanning, it's just important to note the difference between cosmic signatures and anomalies. So these green ones here, these are anomalies. We don't need those in Tripwire. So the reason for that is because they're already green. So if I look at FYO 920, we can see here that I can already warp to that. So before you start scanning, just make sure those are set to off. Now, just before you go jumping wormholes and creating chains and things like that, this is just a little tip that will help make your life easier. At the top of Tripwire here, you've got this little toggle auto mapper option. See how, if it's not yellow, it means that when you jump a wormhole, let's say you jump from this C5 to this C5, what that means if it's turned off, I'm just going to show you what that looks like when it's grey. When you jump that wormhole, the system code won't automatically populate, which means you then have to come back to this wormhole, or this node, sorry, and you double click on there, and then you have to remove this and type in the J code of, wherever that wormhole goes. So that can be quite tedious. So if you just make sure you've got this toggle auto mapper setting turned on, and you'll know it's on because it'll be yellow. That will automatically populate the system codes for you when you're jumping wormholes. Now we're going to look at bookmarks and bookmark folders. So I'll just talk to the bookmark folders first. We'll just click on L, which opens up our locations, and we can see here that our Unchanneled Lines folder has a bunch of subfolders here. The most important ones are the C6, null6, and Xchain folders here. The reason those are important is because they reflect everything that's connected to deep. For example, our C6 chain folder and our null6 chain folder represent our statics. So if we come back, we know that we've got our C6 chain, so everything that comes off here down this line and everything in here, that will be in our C6 chain folder. Same with the nullsec, everything that's contained or scanned out through this nullsec chain, that will be in our nullsec chain folder. Our Xchain folder is just a little bit different. That represents everything else. So everything from deep, we can see the C1 has a chain. We've got a bunch of systems coming off there. We've also got the C4 and this lowsec here. Those will also be located in our Xchain folder. So when we're bookmarking, it's just important to make sure those are going into the correct folders. The other folders that we have here are pretty self-explanatory. Data, relic, and gas. If you are bookmarking relic sites and data sites and gas sites, just make sure they go into this folder. The reason for that is because quite often folders will either be purged if they get too high. So we can see here there's 293 bookmarks currently in all of these folders put together. When this reaches 500, you won't be able to add any more bookmarks, and all of the old ones will need to be cleared out. So that includes if a C6, let's say the C6, someone rolls that off. So let's say they roll this chain off, they will probably come into this folder and purge everything in there. So if you've got bookmarks from other folders in that folder, for those chains or those sites, and they're in here, you will lose them. So that's why it's important to make sure the bookmark is gone in the correct place. I'm just going to show you as well. So if I go Control B, let's just pretend I'm in one of our chains. We're going to say that this might be ABC 1, 2, 3. Oh, we'll not do, that's a bad example. Let's do C5 or C4. S. S is a bad example as well. Let's do I. So we've got our signature here from our probe launcher that we would have scanned down, and we've identified where that goes. Just when you're selecting your folder here, just make sure that that bookmark is going into the correct chain. And if it's a site, make sure it goes into the data relic gas site folder. And just by default, make sure all of your bookmarks are set to a two-day expiry. That's because wormholes only live for just around 24 hours, so just slightly more or less. And the game will automatically delete those bookmarks after 2 days has expired. And that just helps managing our overall bookmark count proactively. It just means that this folder will continually go up and down, up and down, up and down automatically. Alright, so we've jumped into the C4 coming off deep, which means that all of the bookmarks that I create in this system will be stored in the X chain. Just going to have a quick look at this one to make sure it's in the X chain, which you can see here. And it's been bookmarked correctly, so I don't need to change anything there. So first up, I'm just going to align to somewhere like here, put my NWD on, drop my probes, push to 8, analyze, and cloak. The reason I do it that way is because if someone were to warp in, they wouldn't be able to warp in from the angle that I'm currently on. So I'm just going to scan down the Sigs in this system. Alright, so mostly finished scanning this wormhole. One thing I did want to show is when it comes to gas sites, data sites, and relic sites, you don't have to scan those sites down to 100% unless someone specifically asks you to. That's just extra time that you have to spend scanning. So in this case, what I do is I just highlight them as I go. So for example, I don't want to scan that one down, so I'm just going to go ignore result. And what that lets me do is that by the time I finish scanning like this, now I've only got the wormholes, which is what I want to add to Tripwire. So I will add those other Sigs, but for the purpose of just creating the chain, I'm going to just add these in. And if I come down here, I'm just going to click on my C4, which is where I currently am. And I'm going to drop those in there. And I know that RQF is the return because it's 126 kilometers away, and that's what I just jumped through. So in here, we've got this set RQF as a return. Just click on that. And now Tripwire has added those 3 wormholes to the map. So I'm just going to remove that one now because I don't need it. And I'm walk to these other 3 wormholes, and we're just going to create a couple of bookmarks there just to show what that looks like. There was, I think they were trying to roll off just before, the people that just passed me, but I'm not sure where they were going. So this wormhole here, I'm just going to take a quick look at that to figure out what it is. That looks like a C6 to me, so we're going to bookmark that. And we're going to put C6 incoming because it's got K162. You can see I didn't put a space at the front here, so in deep you'll see people using a space in front of bookmarks. The only purpose that that serves is it pushes the bookmark to the top of the list. In our chains, generally the star always needs to be at the top because that's what people will use to navigate home. So any other bookmarks that come after that, you don't need to put a space, you can just keep it as it is. I know that by looking at Tripwire, I'm in the X chain, so I'm not in the nullsec over here or the C6. So I'm just going to put that in my X chain folder for 2 days and put that in there. And now I'll just go do the other 2 wormholes. Alright, now that we've scanned down our wormholes and we've added all our signatures, our bookmarks into the chain, what we're going to do is we're just going to add the remaining bookmarks. So we can see here that the wormholes have only been added. Now I'm just going to come into my probe launcher and click on clear all ignored bookmarks. I'm going to copy paste that, and we're just going to drop that in there. We can see that now there's 2 gas sites, and because I inadvertently scanned one to 100% by accident, I'm just going to save that just in case anyone wants to jump in here and use it. And I'm going to add that to my data relic and gas bookmark folder, and that's now in there for someone to use. So that covers it for the bookmarking and scanning piece and adding them into Tripwire. It just takes a little bit of practice, so don't be too hard on yourself if it takes you a little while to figure it out.